first. How many people in this room do not have a car or some type of vehicle, be it motorbike, whatever? Has anyone not got any vehicle? So 4 people, we've roughly got about 20 people, so it's a small percentage. Okay, so most of you do have some type of a car or motorbike or whatever it might be. How many of you have had that serviced in the last year? Okay, so the majority of those of you have got a car and have had it serviced. Okay. Just out of interest, how many of people in the room, regardless of whether you've got a car or not, have gone through any kind of a blood test in the last year? Not because you've been told to by your doctor because of some, you've gone there because you've got some kind of illness, but you've just simply gone for a checkup to see how your blood results are. 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay. So most of us treat our cars better than we treat ourselves. And that's not just in this room, and in fact this room is far better than the general public, because most people don't ever go just to have a checkup just to see how their blood is, and because of your blood results are such an indication of how your body is doing. And it shows up results so early, or it shows up things much earlier than like oncoming cancer or oncoming diabetes or many other things as well. And most people never go and get their blood checked. And so we tend to treat our possessions, be it our car or our house or whatever it might be, far better than we treat ourselves. And I had a great example of this recently. A very good friend of mine, a guy called Yuri. And he's a really funny guy, but he was on holiday a few weeks ago in Spain. And he flew back from Spain, and when he arrived back here, his ankle, we noticed it was really swelling up and it was really getting big. And the following morning he woke up and it was the size of like a rugby ball almost. So he went to the hospital as quick as he could, and they did various tests and so on. And they said, okay, it's okay, you can go home now and we'll let you know, what the results are and so on. And it just so happened that the hospital he went to, since he'd last been there, he'd moved. So now he was living in a new place from the records that they had for him. Anyway, 8:30 in the evening, so he's gone there about 10, 11 o'clock in the morning. 8:30 in the evening, there's banging on the door. He's opened the door, there's 2 doctors standing there, really stressed and anxious, and they said, we've been trying to get in contact with you all day, we had your old details, we didn't know where, we somehow managed to find where you are now, you need to come to the hospital urgently, this is, it's just not, we're not joking, you need to come as urgently as possible. Turned out he had a major cyst in his leg, and it could have, if they hadn't have caught it in time, it could have gone to his lungs and he'd be dead. It could have gone to his brain, he'd have a major, he'd have lost all sorts of senses and whatever. And it's just something as simple as that. And he had prior warning to it, because his foot had been troubling him for a few months back. He just thought, it's nothing major, I can live with this. And it's what we all tend to do when we get little sort of pains or warning signs that they really are, and we just ignore them. But in our cars, when we get little knocks in our cars or it starts banging the engine, we normally go and get it fixed, but we don't do the same for ourselves, and it's strange, isn't it? So, another friend last week was chatting to me, and he's been getting a lot of pain in his neck. And he was sure it was something about the way he was sleeping, or his pillow, or his bed, or something. I said, I wouldn't be so sure. I think it's probably something completely different. It has nothing to do with your neck or your bed or anything. He said, no, I'm sure it's my neck. I said, well, why don't you just go and see an osteopath, just to be sure, because it doesn't hurt, is it? It's only going to be, 50 quid or whatever it might be. So he went to see this osteopath. And it turns out the osteopath really knew his stuff, and he did a full examination of the guy. And this osteopath worked out that he had he had a problem in his foot, with one of the muscles in his foot, which was making him walk slightly like this, and his foot was a little bit inverted, and he was always walking like this. And just that little degree of the movement in his foot was putting pressure on his ankle. In turn, that was putting pressure on his knee, making him walk in a very different way, which was putting pressure on his hip. That was affecting his spine, which was affecting his neck. So the problem had nothing to do with his bed or his pillow or anything else. It was all about his foot. And now I'm coming on to something completely different, because feet most people, and I won't concentrate on the ladies now, I'll concentrate on the guys first of all. We're slaves to fashion. We are so slaves to fashion. Most of us wear pointed type shoes. But how many people here have pointed feet? I don't think any of us have pointed feet. And we wear these fancy shoes, but our feet are kind of quite squarish, really. I mean, and actually, let's see if, Sally, do you fancy coming up here? Let's do a little experiment. Let me get a piece of paper. Yeah, we've got enough. Would you take your shoe off? Would you mind taking your shoe off?
Yeah. Check the hole.
Let me just draw an outline of your foot. Okay?
Yeah.
If you move your foot away, and now let's take your shoe. Now it's funny how your shoe fits inside your foot when it should be the other way, really, shouldn't it? Because your shoe, and your shoes are actually much more sensible than most people. Thank you very much. What I'm trying to demonstrate is, most people, we cram our feet into these shoes that look good, but they aren't doing our feet any favours at all. And by doing that, every day, often all day long, and some people wear their shoes inside their houses at home as well, and we're just putting so much pressure on our feet, and we're deforming the muscles and the bones. And we have 25% of the body's bones and muscles are contained in our feet. And by regularly punishing the way we do it, it causes so many knock-on effects to the rest of our body. And that's why we have so many ailments. We have so many back problems and neck problems and hip and knee and all the rest of it. And often, it's something as simple as our shoe. Most guys, we often wear dress shoes when we go out or whatever it might be. Having something as simple as a 1-inch heel on your shoe will make a difference in your foot of 12 degrees. It will raise your foot up by 12 degrees. 12 degrees might not seem much, but that will cause enormous problems over the course of a few years on all sorts of other muscles. Now that's 1 inch. Now as most of you ladies know, all I've got to say is stilettos, and I'll just leave it there. So we cause ourselves all sorts of problems, and we don't really treat ourselves that well. And something else we do, sometimes we'll go training, we might do some exercise, we go down the gym and we have great intentions of how we're going to improve ourselves in various ways. And we always want results immediately. And we don't get results immediately, and the belly doesn't go straight away, or whatever it is we've gone down for, and then we're getting fed up with this. And it lasts for normally a couple of months after the New Year's resolutions, or maybe a few weeks after the New Year's resolution. And then we stop going because we want instant gratification in kind of today's society. But to do anything, if you're trying to get your body back in shape, it takes months, it takes years, it doesn't take months really to work on it properly. And one of the things you've got the opposite end of the spectrum. There's a lot of guys go to the gym and they want to get all muscly and they want to build up, and they work really hard on the triceps and the biceps and the chest, and they forget all the connective tissues. And where we tend to get injuries is not actually in the main muscles, it's in the connective tissues. And scientists have worked out, or doctors have worked out, that the connective tissues take 210 days to regenerate, whereas muscles only take about 90 days to regenerate. So when you're working really hard on the muscles are getting bigger and bigger and bigger, but the connective tissues in between aren't. They're taking far longer. They take 3 times as long to regenerate. So you're putting more and more pressure on those, and that's why we get the injuries, because the muscle is getting bigger and it's having a knock-on effect to either side of it, which is normally a connective tissue either side of it. So hence we get so many other issues, especially these guys who try to get really big. They always end up with injuries, and they have no idea why. It's because they're just trying to do it too fast. If they're going to do it properly, they need to work far harder on the connective tissue than on the actual muscles themselves. But you won't get that through to a bone meal, unfortunately. Right, let's go on to food now. I've got a great quote here from a guy called Sean Stevenson. And he said, and it might be a bit controversial, but he says, serving fast foods to kids is negligent. You have to understand that you are directly harming your child. In the future, we're going to look back at this as some form of child abuse. And in what they serve in McDonald's and Burger King and these places, and the people that go there regularly, and they're serving this stuff to their kids, and it's just It's scandalous. It really is scandalous. And I heard someone else talking recently about, he said, if you look in the 50s and 60s, it was considered kind of cool to smoke. And no one looked badly upon the tobacco companies. And then just one generation later, it all started coming out. Well, many people had been saying quite often before that it was bad for you in all sorts of ways, not just simply about the cancer, but many other ways as well. And now you look at tobacco companies, and most people look down on tobacco companies. Oh, we still have a few silly people smoke because of whatever, because sometimes it's hard to get addictions. It's just really hard to get rid of addictions. But most people now, certainly compared to the past, aren't smoking anymore. But we look back on that and we think, well, how could we have been so silly to listen to these tobacco companies and all the false promises they make? And this guy was saying, that's how we look back on the past, and you could say the same thing about many other things, that we look back at civilizations from, say, 20, 30, 50, 100 years ago, and how could they have been so stupid? How could the way we treated so many countries so badly, how could we let that happen? And many other areas that we treated them so badly in years gone by. Well, in today's society, what is it that in 50 years' time they'll look back on us and say, how could they have been so stupid? Is it our attitudes towards, say, climate change? Or is it our attitudes towards processed food and the amount of processed food that we all eat, and fast food? And I wonder, I have a feeling it is going to be fast food, personally. And this is a little bit, I'm kind of wondering a bit, because I didn't properly prepare this, so I apologize. But there is one other thing that I was thinking about recently. On social media, you often see people talking about, your friends are talking about diets they've gone on, and I'm on this Atkins diet, or I'm on so-and-so diet, or whatever it is. And then a few months later, they're not on that diet anymore, it hasn't worked. So they've lost a few pounds. Most people do lose weight on the diet, but it's very rare that people maintain the weight off, and it normally comes back with a vengeance, and very often they end up worse than before they started the diet. And the reality is that we get baffled by it. We get so much BS about diets, and people say, oh, the Atkins diet is right for everyone, or whatever diet is right for everyone, and it's complete BS, because there is no diet that is right for everyone, because it depends on your metabolism, it depends on how your body is, what your preferences are food-wise, and how you react to many different things. So there's never a diet that's right for everyone. It depends on our bodies. And I'm just going to finish on one other thing. We spend a lot of time seated all the time, working on our computers, writing whatever it is, which causes all sorts of problems. And I think we all know that we shouldn't be spending so much time seated, because it causes all sorts of issues. Well, there's a great app called Focus Keeper, and it's available on both iPhones and Androids and so on. And if you get this app, it's free, and it will do an alarm every 20 minutes, or you can set what time. If you have it, the default one is every 20 minutes. It will set an alarm, and in that alarm it will be like a minute or 2 minutes, and then it encourages you. It will play some kind of sound. It will encourage you just to get up, just go for a walk for a minute or so, just do some stretches, whatever, and then go back to your work. And it will do that for you every 20 minutes. And just by doing something as simple as that, your back will be so thankful, and you'll save yourself so many issues by something as simple as that, which won't cost you a penny. Thank you for putting up with my rambling, and back to our Toastmasters.